blue? Am I blue? Greetings, Newcastle High School class of 1963. This is Tom Anderson here. I wish I could be with you right now, but I can't, and so this is my way to be with you. And you'll have to bear with me for a little short while. It's been a few years since I've performed in front of a live audience, as it were, and I'm kind of as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, but that's okay. I'm really feel blessed that I grew up in a place where we had Black Hills as our whole playground. There's just a wonderful array of things to do and see there. I always liked Devil's Tower. Mount Rushmore is really popular with those 4 progressive presidents. When we were in school, they were starting work on the Crazy Horse Monument, and I was really excited about that. And now that it's almost finished, I'm kind of disappointed. I don't really like it. The head looks like a drunken cartoon Indian, and I found out more about Crazy Horse that he never allowed his image to be used. So I'm not sure how the Lakota view it, but the rest of the monument is really nice. I prefer more natural places, like the best kept secret in Wyoming, the Bighorn Mountains. A lot of you will know that. For those of you that live back in that area, you should go see the Bighorn Medicine Wheel if you've never been there. You kind of need to get up there in August because there's a gravel road that goes off the highway, and that's about the only time that road is open. I'm really glad I grew up in a small town where everybody knew everybody, and I remember our little radio station, KASL. I hope that's still there. And as I think back now, almost all of their programming concerned the community and keeping people abreast of what was going on, interspersed with some country western music and popular music. Then there was the Newsletter Journal that came out on Thursdays, their little paper. My mom worked there for a while as a bookbinder. They used to do pamphlets and booklets for businesses and stuff, so it was a perfect little small town newspaper to have articles like this sprinkled all throughout it. Mr. and Mrs. Ralph Johnson entertained friends from Spearfish on Sunday. They barbecued in the afternoon and played canasta that evening. It's like it was the original Lake Wobegon. And growing up back in cattle country served me well out here. Several years ago at the county fair, I placed 3rd place in the cow chip throwing contest with a throw of 103 feet, which is pretty good, discus style. And you know, maybe if I could sling that stuff that far, I should have taken up a career in politics, but I had other interests. And I also need to make a confession. It's been about 55 years now, so the statute of limitations should have run out. It would have been about 1958 or so. I would have been about 13, 14, something like that. If any of you were in the Dogie Theater to see a movie on a summer evening, and you found yourself surrounded with grasshoppers, well, that was me and a couple other guys. We spent the afternoon catching grasshoppers and went to the movie that night. And, I took the center middle, and the other 2 guys went down left and right front, and when the movie started, we emptied out our bags and went to the back of the theater to watch the fun. There were people screaming and bags of popcorn thrown up in the air. I hope no one was injured. You know how kids are. We thought it was a pretty good idea. So, and then I think back, I'm not one to dwell on the past mostly, but you know, thinking about this reunion and all of you, I got thinking back to some of the old times. That was a big, important year in history, in United States and world history. 1963, our senior year. We had in June, I can still remember seeing on the news Governor Wallace standing defiantly on the steps at the University of Alabama as the National Guard troops forcibly integrated the university. And then later in August was the March on Washington with Dr. Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream speech. And then of course in November, President Kennedy was shot. So it was an important year in music. Well, what's this? How did this thing get here? I'm going to do a quick little medley for you. I took up the guitar about my freshman year in high school, so I'm going on 50 years off and on. I played solo gigs for a while. I was in a kind of a funky country western bluegrass group. I was in a barbershop quartet for a while, but I've always loved music. I was in choir in high school. So I'm going to give you a real quick little medley of songs that were popular when we were going to school. And I think you'll remember most of them. Jambalaya, crawfish pie, and a filet gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share a meal. Down in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. She wore blue velvet, whoa, whoa, whoa. Bluer than velvet were her eyes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking. When she passes, each one she passes goes, ah. And it burns, 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 that ring of fire, that ring of fire. Do it nice and easy now, don't lose control. A little bit of rhythm and a lot of soul. So come on to the locomotion with me. Everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA. Tell our teachers we're surfing, surfing USA. I'm sure you remember some of those. I've done a lot of different kind of music. I love it all. Country western, blues, bluegrass, classical. About 10 or 12 years ago, I started getting into some little more jazz things and some of the great hits from the 30s and 40s. And maybe it was that Harry Connick Jr. album that did it. But I want to play you a little tune that I really think is fun. It's called Am I Blue? Yes, these tears in my eyes keep telling you. How can you ask me if I'm blue? You'd be too. If each plan with your woman done fell through. Was a time I was her only one, but now I'm the sad and lonely one. So lonely was I gay till today. Now she's gone and we're through. And am I blue? Am I blue? Am I blue? Yes, these tears in my eyes keep telling you. Was a time I was her only one, but now I'm the sad and lonely one. So lonely. Am I blue? Bluer than blue. And these tears in my eyes keep telling you. Yes, these tears in my eyes keep telling you. That's Am I Blue by Hoagy Carmichael. And you can see that in Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall movie called To Have and Have Not, 1944. I really like stuff like that. Oh, before I forget, does Newcastle have a Starbucks yet? I'll bet they do. Probably not a Walmart. Probably got to go to Rapid City for that. Now, thinking back to the high school days, I was always a sports junkie, although I was a pretty shy kid through most of my school. Until my junior year, Steve Thorpe from the class ahead of us got me interested in running and track and cross country, and I really liked it, and I'm not too bad at it. I need to say a word about my state championship mile race that I lost by that much. Guy from Wheatland named Baker with a great big bandage around his leg. And Coach Barber told me afterwards that I should have won that race, but I hadn't given it my best effort. And if I had, I would have won. And I was disappointed about that for a while. You can't go back and do it again. But he was right, and I took a valuable lesson out of that. So I've always tried to do the best I can, whatever I do from that point on, whether it's sweeping the floor or anything else. So it turned out to be a valuable lesson for me. But I have to say a few words about that incredible basketball team we had. Dave Crum and Larry Russell and Ron Benson and Mike Nelson, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember, maybe it was Gary Smith, that was the 5th starter. But our senior year we were favored to win it all against Laramie Prep, and both teams got upset in the first round and ended up meeting in the Constellation, and we won that. But the game I remember was the year before when we went to Casper, which was in a much higher classification, big school, really good team. We weren't supposed to win that game at Casper, but we did. 33-30. That was just a brawl. And I think it's still one of the most exciting games I've ever listened to. And I don't know how many points Mike Nelson got that night, but he was all over the floor. And he must have had the game of his life. And they told me later that he was really getting in the face of this one Casper player who was kind of a bully. So Mike Nelson was a good guy, and I miss him. And Larry Russell was a friend of mine. We used to hang out a little bit. We've lost him too, but that was a great, great game. And my parents and I listened to that on the radio, and my dad never even liked basketball that much, but we all got excited about it. We decided to greet the team when they came back from Casper the next day, come on up on the bus from Lusk. And we drove out to the Y, and we weren't the only ones. There were a bunch of cars out there. It was like something out of that movie Hoosiers. I want to do another song for you from back in those times. You hear a song, you've probably had this happen, maybe you've heard it 100 or so times, and then you hear it one time and you realize how beautiful it was, and you hadn't noticed that before. And that happened to me with this song. I don't write music myself. I don't have that part of my brain hooked up, I guess. But I like to arrange music for something that put my own personality or my own style into it. And this is one of my favorite arrangements that I've ever come up with, so I want to do this for you. How much do I love you? I'll tell you no lie. How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? How many times in a day am I thinking of you? How many roses are sprinkled with dew? How far would I travel just to be where you are? How far is the journey from here to a star? And if I should lose you, how much would I cry? How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? If I should lose you, how much would I cry? How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? That's How Deep is the Ocean by Irving Berlin. I just love that song. You know, there's a reason that people keep redoing these old songs from the 30s and 40s over and over again, finding their own way to do it. They were great songs. And there's great songs today too. But do you really think that in 70 or 80 years they're going to be doing Justin Bieber or Lady Gaga songs? I don't think so. They'll still be doing the Beatles, Bob Dylan, James Taylor, and Neil Young probably. But I just love that music. Yeah, thinking back again to our school days, I'm really grateful for the public education that I got. And we had some wonderful teachers, from Mrs. Bliss and Mr. Tryon, Ben Tryon, Sherry's dad, who was our math teacher. And I'll never forget Mr. Fassbender, the science teacher. You couldn't ask for a nerdier looking guy with those Coke bottle glasses and flat top. But he was so excited about science, and because of him, I've been a science guy all my life. And then who can forget Mr. Olson, Byron Olson, the literature teacher. What a character. He just made learning fun. He made you want to find out stuff. I'll never forget those guys. And, you know, Erica Rogan and I were picked most likely to succeed. And I wonder what happened to Erica. She was a pretty girl, bright, funny. I'm sure she did just fine. As for me, I made choices in my young years, high school and college, that I wasn't interested in pursuing money. I wanted knowledge and art and music. I knew I was never going to get rich, and I was right, and I don't regret a bit of it. I take full responsibility for those choices. I have a different definition of success. When I get up every morning, and I mean every morning, I have my cigarette and coffee and feed the cats, and I can't wait to get to whatever project I'm working on, whether it's arranging something on the guitar or the latest drawing I'm working on, or my writing. I've got a blog post, and that should be on the bottom of your screen, Riley Coyote. And I urge you to go there and see what you think. You'll find a little bit of politics, satire, science. It's really a mix of stuff. I've been really grateful for the experiences that I've had. I've got to travel around the world, see some of the world's great cities, New York, Paris, Rome, Florence, Venice. It's been wonderful. I got to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak in 1961 in Miami Beach, and I'm very grateful for those kinds of experiences. I want to do one more song for you guys that was popular in our junior year, 1962. And I'm dedicating this to the high school class of Newcastle High in 1963 because it's called I Remember You. See if you remember this. I remember you. You're the one who made my dreams come true. Just a few kisses ago, I remember you. You're the one who said, I love you too. Yes, I do. Didn't you know? I remember too the distant bells and stars that fell like the rain out of the blue. When my days are through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, well, I will tell them I remember you. I remember too the distant bells and stars that that fell like the rain out of the blue. When my life is through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, then I will tell them I remember, tell them I remember, tell them I remember you. Well, that's about enough. I'd like you, all of you, to email me and let me know what you've been doing the last 50 years. Maybe not you, Roadrunner. I've got a troll that goes to my blog, calls herself Roadrunner, and I don't mind her disagreeing with my politics. She really hates what I write, but she'd like me dead. So I really don't want to hear from Roadrunner, but I'd like to hear from any of the rest of you. I don't do Facebook, but you can get my email from Donna Bunnell. And the blog post is on the, it should be written along the bottom there, Riley Coyote. And I also have a video on YouTube called Professor Prankheimer for President. And I did that in spring of 2012 during all that insanity about women's reproductive systems. So you might find that interesting and entertaining, but caution, contains adult themes. So, class of 1963, I think about you a lot, and you'll always be in my heart, as will Wyoming. I mean, I've lived out here for 40-some years, but my heart and soul will always be in the Black Hills and those prairies of Wyoming. So have a great reunion, you guys. God bless America, and you know, God bless all the other countries too.